Good. All right. First of all, thanks for everybody for coming out. It's really a great day to be a Saluka. I feel like we got better as a team today. It's a day that myself, along with our staff, will always remember as our first, signing class as a head coach. So it definitely felt like Christmas morning whenever you got 22 new kids joining your team. So special day. I'm excited about it. Can't wait to talk to you about them. Before I get talking about our recruits, I want to thank a few people. First, our athletic director, Tommy Bell. He came every recruiting weekend, talked to the families. It meant a lot. So did Chancellor Caldwell. So both of them were a huge part selling this university. We appreciate that. Our academic staff that's here, Mallory and Christina, Derek, Kelsey, thanks for everything that you guys did throughout the whole time. Our secretary, Kelly, we appreciate all the hard work. I know as soon as we got going, she had a lot of things on her desk, so we appreciate that. Our equipment staff, Adam Bortz. Every Friday night we showed off the locker room and all of our equipment, and him and his staff were there every single recruiting weekend after hours, so we appreciate all that. This was the first year we took all the recruits bowling on campus. We feel like that's a big part of showing the kids and their families what we have to offer on campus. We had a lot of fun, a lot of competitive juices get going, and get to really know the kids in a competitive setting and just have a good time with their host. And so we thank the bowling staff. A couple times they weren't open, and they came in there and opened it up for us. So we appreciate that. Our tour guides that are here, you're a big help. Vogler Ford gave us a vehicle a couple weekends. We appreciate that. Probably the most important thing is the staff. I mean, I put together an amazing staff that loves to recruit. They drove many miles, never asked how far or what time I got to get up, and some days getting back at 5 o'clock in the morning. The last time the three defensive coaches came back from Detroit, they got back at 5 o'clock in the morning. We had a staff meeting at 8. Some of them slept in the office. It was really just, what do we got to do to get this thing done? And they did a great job. And I want to thank their families too. I mean, it's a big, anytime you're in college coaching, you got to have a great family. And starting, with my wife, Alicia, she's pregnant, and she never once complained or anything like that. So that's a big part of this whole thing. Every recruiting weekend, all the kids were involved. We have a lot of young kids that the staff has, and I told them every weekend to get them people, get the kids, the families, the wives around, because we want to sell that this is a family atmosphere, and they did that. So I appreciate all that. And, with that being said, we're going to go through alphabetically all the players that we're adding to the team. Starting off, Victor Abraham. I might have hit something with my foot there. I don't know. Big safety. He just came on his official visit last weekend. 6'3", 195 pounds. When you see his video, he's a physical kid. I think the most impressive thing with Victor is he's a pre-med. He wants to study pre-med, and he's got a 28 on his ACT. So, not only were we looking for talent, we obviously wouldn't have started recruiting them if we didn't think they fit our mold as far as who we were trying to get. But we made sure that they passed the character test as well. Would they be able to fit in here and what we're trying to do, because we're going to ask a lot of them. Victor fits that, and we're excited to get Victor. Jordan Berner is a local kid here from Chester, Illinois. Is a kid that I'm excited about getting him. If some of you, the local media outlets have probably seen Jordan play, he's done it all for Chester. It was really almost unfair for the Black Diamond to have Jordan in their conference, because he'd line up at quarterback, middle linebacker. He's got almost 1,000 receiving yards in his career. On big downs, they put him out at wide receiver and have him run a fade. He's really done everything there. He's a great kid. He's been coming over here to camp since he was a sophomore. We've known about him and recruited him for a long time. It's crazy to think that now he's a senior. He's going to be coming over here. He's got a great family. And it's always important to have those Southern Illinois kids on your team. And we're looking forward to Jordan. He's a big kid, These height and weights aren't really he weighed in at 243 when he was here on his visit. So these are conservative numbers. They're actual numbers. He's a big kid, and physically he's probably ready to play right now. Sam Bonasinga. Sorry about that. Sam Bonasinga, whenever I got the job, I was like, we have to get somebody for Sacred Heart Griffin. Anytime we've been good here, we've had somebody that made plays from Sacred Heart. A lot of great teammates of mine. We always hold a camp, satellite camp up their school. Their program kind of speaks for themselves. When you recruit somebody from Sacred Heart, you know you're getting a winner. And Sam is that. He's played in 2 state championship games. They got beat in the semifinals this year. I think the thing that's really impressive, when he was a junior, when we started recruiting him, he played in the state championship game. He never came off the field. He played every snap of offense, every snap of defense, and was on every single special teams play, returning kicks, on kickoff return, on kickoff. I think it was like 152 plays in a game. And so Sam is just the same thing, 27 ACT, great kid, great family. He's got 6 brothers and sisters. I think they all came on the visit. And so we're really excited about Sam. He's another kid. When we were doing this, I mean, there's nothing like a live evaluation whenever you're recruiting kids. We saw him work out. We were able to get our hands on him, have him run routes for us, and he passed all the tests, and we're looking for Sam to do a lot of things here. Quay Brown, when I was an assistant, I recruited the state of Florida, and Quay is a kid that we're lucky to get. He had 4 or 5 bigger offers through the springtime, and we just kind of stuck with him. And at the end, we got him on a trip, and it was the Wichita State basketball game. I called him up at halftime, and he came up in my office, and he committed right there. He was like, I want to be a part of this atmosphere. I'm not taking any other visits. My mom, when you sat in the living room, had a good feeling with the coaches that have came in my house, and he really didn't go on any other official visits, so we lucked out. And, he was MVP of the Central Florida All-Star game. He was 8A All-State. So he's a playmaker. He'll play safety for us, but he's a ball hawk. He returns punts. He kind of does it all. He could probably play on offense, but we're going to start him out at safety. Devin Brunetti, he just came this past weekend. We were looking for a mid-year center, or a center that had some experience. And Devin came this last weekend on his official visit. He showed up. He had cowboy boots and a camo hat and camo sunglasses on, and we knew right there that he was in the right spot for where he wanted to go to school. He's from Phoenix, Scottsdale, and he couldn't get, so on the way home on official visits, if it's within 30 miles, you can take him somewhere. We own some land right here close to Jackson County. And I've got a fishing place, and on his way home from the airport, we pulled him in there, and he wanted to know if they could catch catfish and all that kind of stuff. He's already called me when he committed, him and his brother. Got the fishing poles coming. So he's the kind of offensive lineman that you like. He's got that nastiness to him. He's experienced. He started 2 years at a really good junior college, and we felt like that was a need that we needed. We lost our starting center and our backup center. So we have some young kids, but this Devin will bring some experience to the offensive line, and we're excited to get him. He'll be here for summer school. Blake Parzich, just another kid that Saluki fans are going to like. He had a lot of offers in our league, and he was one that committed to us before I got the job, and he stuck with us. His mom went to school here, and just a great kid. I think that you're going to continue to hear me to say that over and over. We have a lot of good kids in this signing class, and you never really know how it's going to turn out 2-3 years from now, but these kids are off to the right track. Smart kid, really good grades, and we signed 4 defensive linemen, and Blake is a kid that physically at 260 pounds will probably be 270 before he gets here. We have some kids that are probably ready to play, and that'll all work itself out, but Blake's a kid that has had a heck of a high school career. He's playing basketball now. He plays multiple sports, what we always look at, and so we're excited to get Blake. Jalen Carter, Jalen is, if you look up and down this signing class, You always say, well, he looks the part. Jalen probably looks the part more so than anybody. He's 6'4", 245-pound tight end. Kind of has that look that Mike Cole had, but he's taller than Mike Cole. And he comes from an outstanding program, Wheaton Warrenville South, and he knows how to win. He's a great kid. And a funny story on Jalen, probably is the only time this will ever happen in my entire coaching career or anybody's, but Jalen's sister came with him on his unofficial visit, and at 3 o'clock in the morning his mom called me, and I was asleep, and Alicia was like, "Are you going to get that?" I rolled over, and his sister was pregnant, and she had the baby at Carbondale Hospital. So I talked his mom into how to get into Carbondale High School, or Carbondale Hospital, sorry, and had the baby. So it was meant to be from there. He had a couple other chances to go on visits. He went to one after us. He called back, and he was like, "My nephew's already a Saluki. I'm going to join him." So we're lucky to get Jalen. Jalen's a kid that we're really excited about. James Caesar, got two Detroit kids. We signed one last year as well. Ashton Akins does a great job up there, our receivers coach. He came from, grew up in Detroit, went to high school there, then he played at Northwestern. And I went up to Sound Mind, Sound Body Camp, which is a big evaluation camp up there, and I really kind of found out how connected Ashton is in Detroit. Every coach, every high school coach came up to us, knows Ashton by first name. So he has the inside track on a lot of kids in Detroit. We'll continue to recruit Detroit. James is a kid that all year Ashton just kept saying he's the best corner in the city, he's the best corner in the city, he's the best corner in the city. We went up, we finally got him on a visit, and he's just a kid. When you watch his film, he plays quarterback, he plays receiver. Really, anytime you're a high school kid and you put him at quarterback, that probably means he's the best player. Especially if he's an athlete, you trust him with the ball, you trust him making plays for you. James will play corner for us, and he's just all around ball player. And that's what when I got the job, I said we got to go after James Caesar, and so we're lucky to get James as well. Jeremy Chin, He's a prototypical looking what now that big long corner. He's 6'2". He's probably not even done growing. We don't know what Jeremy will be. He's going to be a corner, but he could be 6'3" or 6'4" before it's all said and done. He's probably ready to play when he comes, and he's got that mentality that he wants to play this year. He's a heck of a player. We recruited him. We had to out-recruit a couple schools for him. And we're lucky to get Jeremy. Awesome family. We did several home visits with him, came over on his visit. And, he's a track kid, but he's a good-looking athlete, and he's a really smart kid. And so we've signed 5 guys in the secondary, and we feel good about all of them. And Jeremy is one of them, coming from Indianapolis. We always want to recruit. I always say we're going to hunt in our own woods, and that's in that area 4 hours away, and we're lucky to get Jeremy. Matt Chmielewski, we call him Big Chimmy. Chimmy was a kid that came down here to camp. We saw him at some other camps. He came down during fall camp and watched us practice. Yeah, his parents are outstanding people and really did it the right way. They wanted to commit early, and he came down for a game and committed. He was one of the 9 kids that committed before I got the job, and he stuck with us. And he's rated as one of the top 10 offensive linemen in the state of Illinois coming out in this recruiting class. So we're lucky to get him. He'll add depth. He's a really big kid. He could probably be a swing guy, play guard or tackle. So all that kind of stuff will just work itself out. But we're excited about Matt. Xavion Furcron, we call him Big Z. He's a big kid now. He's Joliet Catholic's an outstanding high school program, and that's something that we really want to do too. And we want to get players that are used to winning, and these guys are used to winning. Xavion is he really, when you talk about him, he brings a smile to your face. He really lights up the room. He's a soft-spoken kid, but if you turn on his film and you see his film and his highlights, he gets after it now. A lot of his highlights, he's going to play on the defensive line. A lot of his highlights are at offensive guard. But he went out to all the camp circuit this past year and worked out as a defensive lineman. Just Joliet Catholic, if you know how they play, they do a lot of pulling with their guards. So he's out running on a lot of clips. He's downfield. He's 25, 30 yards downfield running. He's super athletic for 310 pounds. So physically, he's as strong as probably anybody on our team right now. If he came into our locker room, he'd probably have one of the best squats and one of the best benches on our team. So he's physically ready to go right now. You know, he'll come in and compete to play as a freshman. Nico Galdoni is another local kid that we're excited to get. He'll compete for our kickoff spot probably this year, and that's exciting. We've got a couple local kickers now with Josh Haynes being from Heron, and you know, it would be fun to see one of those guys get out there. He'll have to come and earn it, but he has the ability to do it. He came to our camp this summer, won the kicking competition, and you know, he can put it in the end zone consistently, which you need and we need on special teams, is somebody that consistently puts it in the end zone. Not only do you not, you know, risk someone getting a good return, but that's a violent play. So those are you know, receivers, those are corners, those are guys that, you know, if you got to run down and make a tackle on kickoff, that's going to wear you out throughout the season. So if you can get a guy to put it in the end zone, it's going to save some wear and tear on all your guys. Jakari Harrison is the high school quarterback that we signed. I've been recruiting Jakari for a long time. We're lucky to get him. He's a 3-star kid with 247 Sports and Rivals. Had about 14 different offers. I was down in the springtime watching a jamboree. There was about 30 South Florida teams. He put on a show the day that I was there, and there was a bunch of people in line ready to offer him. Got on him, went all the way to Detroit to see him work out at another camp this year, and just built that relationship with him and got his dad and him to come up on an unofficial visit I think it was in July, and showed him around the campus. Got on this facility. So to get a South Florida kid to come up here on an unofficial visit, fly in, I knew he was serious about wanting to come here, and we just stayed. It was a kid that, you know, I knew we were going to have to battle till the end to get, and we did. Our new offensive coordinator, John Van Dam, kind of took over my recruiting area in Florida. Has done an outstanding job with him, building the relationship pretty quickly. But you know, Jakari's been my guy for a long time, and committed to us early and stuck with it. You know, came on his official visit during the season against Liberty, and we're excited to have Jakari. I mean, he will add a lot to the quarterback room. You know, when you see him, if you look him up, he's always on, you know, dual threat quarterbacks, but really he's a pocket quarterback that can move. You know, he kind of gets, the other day when we were in his home, you know, he's like, yeah, everybody calls me a dual threat quarterback, but really I'm not a runner. If I have to, I can run, but he can make all the throws. He's athletic, and that's really what we look for, is an athletic passer, is what I always say, and Jakari fits that. So Jakari, he's got a chip on his shoulder, and I like that, and Jakari will come in here and compete. Malik Haynes, another Chicago kid. You know, we've got over 10 signees here that we all like. He's kind of like Big Z. We got a lot of personality on the defensive line. He's a great kid. If you put on his highlight film, you see him running down on kickoff. He even plays a little bit of linebacker at 300-pound kids. I think there's 12, and that means a lot. You know, this is a city, and he's a kid that we early offered out of the springtime. We saw him at camps. We were able to evaluate him in person, and he's a great kid. And I was able to go to his home, meet his family, sit in his living room, and you know, he checks off all the boxes. Great kid, smart kid, and we're lucky to get Malik. I know that there'll be a lot of teams wishing at the 1A level that they would have went after Malik. Hayden LaPointe, another Chicago kid, or from DeKalb. He's probably one of the best looking offensive linemen that we've brought in here on an official visit since I've been around here. He's probably about closer to 6'6", 275 pounds. He wears it well. He's an athlete, and the sky is the limit for him. Really, he's just kind of growing into his body. He'll come in here and compete, but he loves football, and came down here on his visit, had a couple other visits set up, and ended up choosing us, and we're lucky to get Hayden. He's really what you look for when you're recruiting high school tackles, and those are the toughest to find on the offensive line, as a true tackle type kid, and Hayden's that kid that we're going to have to develop, but we're excited about getting him. Landon Lenore, another Chicago kid, Crete Monet High School. A lot of you guys are going to be familiar with Lance Lenore. He's probably the best wide receiver in our league. It's his little brother. Lance plays at Western Illinois. They were all over him to get him. Landon wanted to be his own guy, didn't want to follow in his brother's footsteps, and he came down here. He committed in the summer as well. I didn't really know much about Landon. If you watch their offense, they don't throw the ball a ton, so he didn't have a ton of junior year film. They went to the state championship game this year. They actually beat Sacred Heart Griffin. And we had a satellite camp in Chicago, and he didn't disappoint. I didn't really know him. I watched him run. I kept pulling him over the side. I had all of our offensive guys come over. I kept telling him to run different routes. I would bring up the best corner in the camp and call him out, and he did. He's coachable. He's smooth, just like his brother is. It's kind of scary how similar him and his brother are. That's his type of player. He's not going to blow you away with his 40 time, but neither does his brother. And his brother is a savvy receiver. He's smooth. Probably that's the word that comes to mind when I think of Landon Lenore. He's just a smooth kid, and he's a route runner. He loves football, and Landon loves to compete. And that's what we like. Bryce Notry, actually our defensive GA. Michael Williamson went to this high school, and he kept on bringing his name up, and when he got up to campus, he looked even better. We hadn't offered him by the time we brought him up, and he didn't have an offer. But as soon as he came in the door at the hotel, I offered him, because he's a good-looking kid now. He's and he actually is from Illinois. He went to Decatur MacArthur High School as a freshman. His first semester, he went to Decatur MacArthur. He's got a couple junior high teammates on our team right now, which helped us get him. His dad played at the University of Illinois basketball, from Chicago, and so he's coming back home. But that's a big-time program. I went down there. I flew into Dallas for a half a day so I could do a home visit with him and his family. Went to the high school, met with the high school coaches, and that's about as good as it gets in Texas high school football. He's an all-state kid. And he's 17 years old. He'll actually not turn 18 until October of his freshman year in college. So he's young. I mean, to look like that as a 17-year-old, there's a lot of upside in Bryce. We already looked at Blake. Clay Rendelman, another local kid. I mean, Murfreesboro's had a heck of a run these last couple years. I remember when I was at Carbondale High School, Clay was a sophomore, played against him, competed against him, and he's just a football player. He comes to every camp that we have. He's a strong kid. He's the strongest kid in Southern Illinois. He sets all the weightlifting records and all that kind of stuff, and he wanted to be a Saluki, and we're glad that Clay's coming over. He's one of those kids that's going to find a way to be on the field, I guarantee you, just because he does everything right. He's strong. And he's a tough kid. I know his family, and so we're glad Clay's coming over here. Mason Wilfong's a kid from Florida that I've recruited for a long time. Same thing. Got Mason and his family to come up here on an official visit during the summer. To us, we never really let a kid commit unless he's been on campus, because they have to know, hey, is this a good fit for us as well? And his dad, his brother, and him went on a little college tour this summer. Came up here. I watched him compete in the spring down there during spring football, and he really reminds me of Billy Reed, that's on our team right now. Strong, physical. He's tall. He'll go up and get the ball. He's good with his body, and physically he's ready to play right now too. I mean, he can get in here. He looks the part, and great kid. Had some Ivy League schools recruiting him. He's got a great GPA, great ACT score, comes from a great family, and I'm excited about Mason. Now, our last three guys are all transfer guys that are currently on our team right now. Craig James, we're lucky to get Craig. He's from Edwardsville High School, a big-time recruit out of the metro area 2 years ago. Went to Minnesota, never redshirted, has been their punt returner the last couple years. And, both Minnesota's corners right now this last week played in the Senior Bowl. So that's who he was behind. He still got on the field. He was their nickelback, punt returner. So Craig was probably in line to be Minnesota's starting corner this year. Wanted to get back home close to Mom, and Mom came on the visit. Melvin Rice had a relationship with him. That's our corners coach now, and really did a great job recruiting him. And we're lucky to have Craig. Craig is a kid. We're in the middle of winter conditioning right now, and you can just tell he's got that it. And he's a competitor. He's always out there. He's a vocal leader. He stepped right in. You could tell that he wasn't scared to sit in this room, and it didn't take him long to adjust. He's already part of the team. He's already become a leader because he's always out there out front in winter conditioning. And when you can lead by example, people will start following you. So we look for Craig to have a big season for us. Josh Strawn, quarterback, Stillman College, started for 3 years at the Division II level. I was getting emails probably or calls or somebody texting me or calling me about a graduate transfer or a 1A quarterback that wanted to drop down. Number one, we had a great year on offense. We had a senior quarterback that was leaving. So those kids always look at, hey, what kind of offense do they run? Is there a senior quarterback? We kind of fit all of those for this year for a transfer to come in. So we had them all from every program, SEC to Pac-12, Big Ten. They were all, somebody's a backup that's a scholarship kid looking to come in. But Josh had film, and we continued to watch it, and I kept watching it. And then when Coach Van Dam came in, I watched it. Our receivers coach watched it, and I'm like, hey, I don't know. I watched this thing a million times. That's real game film against college kids, and he makes all the throws. He's an athlete. He was a basketball player in high school. His brother, that's a year younger than him, is a Division I basketball player. He played 8-man football in high school in the state of Washington, or he would not be here right now if he's playing anywhere that gets heavily recruited. So he went to Stillman College. He's the only one that offered him, won the job as a true freshman. And, he's a kid that shows up on a lot of Mel Kiper and those draft guru guys, small school quarterback, draftable quarterbacks. Not only that, I told him on the phone, hey, I like you, and I like your film, but I've never offered a quarterback that I haven't met and seen in person, because that's what goes the longest way for me is, hey, I got to be able to coach you. I got to see how you you are around our team, our coaches, how do you interact. And he came here, and after the first night of bowling and dinner and everything, Coach Akins, I remember, came up and he was like, I feel like I'm talking to a GA or assistant coach when I'm talking to that kid. He was like, he fits it all. And so we offered him, and he committed. He's here right now working out. Great kid. I mean, I have to continue. I feel like he doesn't think that I want to watch film with him. I'll be in the office for like an hour, and he's in there, and he's like, Coach, when are we gonna start going? I'm like, hey, let's get through signing day, and then I promise you'll get tired of me telling you, we got to come up here and watch film. So he's always up doing things on his own. He's always around. He's kind of that guy that you want the quarterback to be. So we didn't promise him anything. I never do. I told Mark Ionati that last year. We brought in Matt McIntosh to compete with him. So we're always going to compete in the quarterback room, and I know that Josh is looking forward to that competition. Kyron Watson, same thing kind of as like Craig James. He was a 4-star recruit 2 years ago out of East St. Louis High School. Everybody wanted him from Missouri to all the Big Tens in the Midwest. Ended up going to Kansas. And, he's really good friends with Jimmy Jones on our team, and he's really good friends with Craig James. So when Craig James said yes and came over, actually pretty easy to get Kyron. Went to East St. Louis High School, brought him on a visit, and he didn't go anywhere else. He wanted to be a Saluki, and that's what you want. I always ask people, you've got to want to come here. We're not going to beg anybody to come here. And I always ask them, do you love football? Because at the end of the day, this thing's going to get kind of tough, and if you don't love it, you're going to kind of fall back behind. You're going to be late to things, all that kind of stuff. And Kyron's the kind of kid that loves football. He's came in the same thing as Craig. You can tell he's been at a high level. He knows how to work, and we're excited about him coming and competing and adding some depth at the linebacker position. Actually, one more. We've added one more transfer. Lane Reason is a punter from Oklahoma State that's joined our team. He's on the roster right now as well, and he'll come here and compete for the starting punting position. So with that, just open it up for questions.
I've always been interested in, like Harrison, he was a great quarterback. I liked what I saw on film of him.
Mm-hmm.
But when you have really, really good receivers like they did, one is going to Ohio State, how do you evaluate that and throw that into evaluating the quarterback?
I think, anybody that's a good quarterback is going to have, good receivers that makes plays for him. But, you got to watch what type of throw it was. If it was a bad throw and it was a great catch, then that doesn't do much for you. But Josh really, didn't. He makes all the throws. He can make all the throws, but that's not all it for a quarterback. It's easy for somebody to come out here and make throws in shorts and a T-shirt. It's really, do you got a line in front of you? Everybody will throw out these workout videos, and I'm like, well, that looks good on air, but in the real game, you got 10 guys coming after you. It's a blitz. So that was live action. That's college football that he was making those plays. And like I said, I just got the good feeling. Sometimes you just have to go with your gut in recruiting. And so I don't really care if you play Division II or NAI or whatever. I got a good feeling about him, and he's here and he's going to compete.
Two-part question. You mentioned several times that people committed early and stuck with you. Did the change in coaching, did that create any issues? And did you get the players that you actually wanted?
Yeah, actually, all of the guys that were committed early, all of them are there. We had 9 of them that were committed during the coaching change, and I was staying in constant contact when I was the interim, and they all stayed. They all came. They kind of all became pretty close within themselves. And really this is a class. I mean, there's always, if anybody stood up here and said every kid that we offered came, they're going to be lying to you, but these are the guys that we all put a tag on. We didn't have anybody that this last weekend were like, hey, let's go down to our our fifth linebacker and let's go offer him so we have somebody to fill out our class. We were actually looking for, we got guys, hey, we want to offer this guy, but hey, we're too committed up, and that happens a lot of times, hey, we're full, we're out of money, and we were at an early time, so that's an exciting part.
You had the 11 high school Illinois guys, the 13 overall. Was the high amount of Illinois guys the plan you had going in?
I don't think it was really a plan. I mean, it's definitely a plan as far as recruiting. We're going to recruit hard in the state of Illinois. And, all the high school coaches, everybody's going to know, they're going to see, our colors. Spring recruiting, we'll be in every high school in the state. We're going to be in Chicago. We're going to be in the metro area. And so it was an emphasis. But the kids also have to play, and they have to meet what you want and who you're looking for. And this year, the guys that we went after, we were able to get.
The punter that you got on transfer, what was his name again?
Lane Reason.
Reason. He won't come in until summer. Right?
No, he's here right now.
So he got the transfer.
Yeah. He'll be competing in spring.
The lineman won't be here till
Yeah, Devin Brunetti will be here in the summertime. He's got to finish his AA before he comes.
Really heavily on defensive line and defensive backs. I mean, just recruiting to need there.
Yeah, I think so. We switch into a 4-3. You're going to have some extra defensive linemen, whereas last year we, might be recruiting more outside linebacker types. So And you got to go back and see. I mean, there's not a running back in that group either. You know, we took 3 scholarship freshmen last year, plus a transfer, a junior college transfer. So our running back room is full of scholarships right now. Not that we kind of put ourselves in position too. If there's a transfer that we want to go after at the end of spring ball, we can too. So you know, not that the recruiting's never over. So we felt good about that, but we wanted to address a few needs. We wanted to get better. We feel like we did that.
Virtually all preps, was that the plan going in, or just the way it worked out?
You mean without transfers?
Only one JUCO kid.
Yeah, no. We want to build this thing with high school kids. I mean, I feel like you're always going to have a few transfers, whether it's JUCO or, you know, Division I drop-down kids. We have our handful of those, but we're going to build this thing with high school kids. You get them in here as a freshman, you show them the plan, and you build around that. You know, kids that are going to be here 4 or 5 years. When you got 50 seniors out there playing, you got a pretty good team, you know. And so we're going to build this thing with high school kids, and we're not each year, every other year, going to go after junior college kids. In my opinion, a lot of times it takes a junior college kid a year to really get adapted to what you're doing, and then he's got 1 year left to play, and then you're doing it all over again. So if you build it with high school kids, you're going to have a pretty good program.
Dale was big on redshirting. Is that as important to you, or is it just going to be the individual kid?
Yeah, I think it's the individual kid. You know, our starting running back last year was a true freshman from Orlando, Daquan Isom. I recruited them all saying, hey, you come and compete your butt off during fall camp, and then we'll figure it out, you know. And so if they can play, they can play, and they'll get the opportunity to play. So I didn't tell one of them, hey, you're redshirting the first year, and recruited them like that. If they're contributing and helping us win, then we'll play them.
You talked about Burner for Chester being kind of doing everything around there. You have him listed here as defensive line. Is that your plan for him, or are you going to allow him to be open, and if he does well somewhere else?
No, he'll be a defensive end, be on the defensive line to start out. You know, he could probably play tight end as well. So we've had that argument in our staff room before, offensively and defensively, who's going to get him. But he wants to play on the defensive line. That's probably his best fit. And so in fall camp, he'll start out on defensive line.
3 local kids, I mean, that's more than I've seen in quite a while. Again, is that part of a plan, or just the way it worked out?
Well, I'm pretty biased to those guys, you know, being from DuQuoin and coming here, and I know what it feels like to be a local kid to play here. And, you know, I know all of those kids' families, and I know their high school coaches, and it's important for me to get those kids each and every year. Southern Illinois kids will always have a chance to come here and play. And not just a token, hey, you're on the team. I mean, they'll get a legitimate chance to come here and play, and I hope that they're on the field one day.
Jakari Harrison's film, I mean, 3-star prospect, looks really good. Do you see him possibly coming in and competing for a starting job year 1?
I do. I feel like he'll get the shot. You know, we'll compete in spring. You know, him not being able to be in spring, you know, those guys. But Jakari's got a chip, like I said, he's got a chip on his shoulder. If you ask him right now, he would say he's going to come and compete and be the starting quarterback. And that's what I liked about him. When he said that to me, I was like, he's the guy that I want. You know, he's not timid. He's like, oh, I can redshirt. There's a few older guys. He never asked, am I recruiting any other quarterbacks? Sometimes you get into recruiting kids, and it's like, well, how many running backs are you going to sign, or how many quarterbacks? If you're confident, you really don't care. Hey, I'm going to come in and compete. And that's what I like about Jakari. So Jakari will get that opportunity. Nowadays, with the type of offense that we run, it's similar to the high school offense that he ran at Coconut Creek. His dad's offensive coordinator. He's a smart football kid. So he's always talking football. That's all he thinks about. So he'll definitely have a chance to come in and play.
How would you describe this process of not only having to get the staff together, but then identifying your needs and then going out and recruiting these guys? I guess talk about what this last couple months has been like in this process.
It's been a whirlwind, you know. It's been you gone every Sunday night or early Monday, 4 or 5 in the morning, somebody taking me to the airport, or us going somewhere early in the morning, coming back Friday afternoon, doing the official visits for Friday, Saturday, Sunday morning, quick staff meeting, doing the same thing over again 4 weeks in a row. So the main thing for me was hiring the staff, and it fell at a good time because recruiting was dead, and it gave me an opportunity to hire a staff. So whenever we were pretty full with the staff, we still had a couple other guys to hire, but we had enough guys to hit the road running. When I think it was January 4th was the Monday that we could get back on the road. We had a lot of guys that were hired by then, and we were able to go and get a good recruiting class.
And that turnaround for them, I guess, just to identify needs and to get on guys that quickly. How hard is that?
Really, there's always kids that pop up, but we've got to, that was we always were recruiting, whether it was just myself and Coach Akins, Coach Flieger that were here. We have our recruiting board. So especially offensively, as the offensive coordinator, we had a deep list of offensive players. Same thing on defense, different type of kids. That's a good starting point. So when they come, like, hey, we had long recruiting meetings. Like, hey, here's our board. Here's our number one guy. Let's go get him. When he commits, then 2, 3, 4's out, or how many we taken. And but then whenever you're out, you're always, nowadays with social media, you can recruit from your phone, Twitter and all these sites and all this stuff. It's crazy how much you'll hear about a kid and then you get on them. I know we knew Karan for about 24 hours, and we were in East St. Louis High School in the morning with him and his brother and his head coach. He came on a visit that night and he committed the next day. So that's the way recruiting is. And if you wait around and you're not, hey, well, we'll be there tomorrow, it's too late. So that's what I like about our staff. It's like, hey, whatever it takes, let's go do it.
You said this is like Christmas morning. Did you get what you want?
Yeah, definitely. We got better. We really did. Everybody in the country as a head coach is going to sit up here and talk about the great recruits they had. And like I said, we'll know what this recruiting class is 2-3 years from now. This year, there'll be a few of them that contribute and play. Just like I said, we had a few of them that played last year. Daquan probably being the most successful. But we have a good team. We got a lot of guys coming back, and that's not just fluff. That's real. We got a lot of good players here. But we got to get better too. We were 3-8. That's what I keep telling the team every workout. Hey, there's a reason. So we got to fix it. And I told them all the very first team meeting, I love to recruit. There's gonna be somebody coming in that room every single year. I played for a guy that every single year there was a new quarterback that came in and he made me earn it. And that's how it'll be on every position. So if you're not down with competing, and if you're not down with good players coming to work beside you and you got to beat them out, that's probably not the right spot for you.
With the pickup of the JUCO center, are you satisfied with what you got coming back on the offensive line as far as the red shirts and the younger guys?
Yeah, we signed 5 offensive linemen last year. So this is that year. They've redshirted. They all redshirted last year, and those guys got to start. That spring will be big, because we lose 3 guys on the offensive line. David Meyerhoff started some of the year. Reed Silby. Austin Olson. So we feel like we've got 3 really good ones that are coming back. There's going to be 2 new starters on that offensive line. But the past 2 years, we've scholarshiped 4 2 years ago, 5 last year. So we've got good young depth.
So you won't probably have to use any of these true freshmen.
Yeah, no. The offensive line is the hardest place to come and play as a true freshman. It's a totally different animal if you're playing a true freshman with the offensive line, you better be pretty special. And but Devin is a kid that's ready to play. He's played, he's physically ready to go. He'll turn 22 years old. And so that's why we went and got him.
You mentioned the battles in the room, offense, defense. Tell me about your role how that's changed and where you have to stay in that.
Well, I think we signed more defensive players. So, I'm for getting the best players, whether it's, hey, we got to drive to Detroit to get a defensive player, well, we got to go get them, you know what I mean? So it's not going to be where we just load up on offensive players because I'm used to being the offensive coordinator. We got to be a great team. You got to look at things like, hey, is this cornerback going to be able to play special teams? Because we got to be great on special teams or whatever it is, So we got to be good players at every position. You can't. If If not, that's going to be your weakness, and somebody's going to exploit it, and you're going to get beat. So we got to have 22 guys that go out there, more than that, and then recruiting is big on depth, and that's the biggest thing that's different from FCS and FBS is. We get 63 scholarship to make 85 guys can be on scholarship. So we're able to give some partial scholarships, and that's where you've got to build some depth in your team. If not, you're not going to be very good.
Was there particular qualities in kids, whether it be athleticism or whatever, when you looked at how are you going to be able to compete in this league?
No doubt, you've got to know what you want to be, what's your identity going to be, how you're going to play on offense, how you're going to play on defense. I'm not big on, hey, that kid's really good, but he doesn't fit our scheme. We better change our scheme up because I think he's a good player, so let's go get him and then we'll figure it out type thing too. The biggest thing for me is it's turned into so much highlight videos. Everything, a huddle is so big in recruiting, but it's all highlights. Everybody's got a good highlight video. They're all your good plays, so you can get tricked a lot in recruiting because you're evaluating all their good plays, so we better go and find their bad plays and see how bad they are. And also you better find out what really burns you is now all of a sudden you bring a kid in and be like, well, he doesn't play hard. Well, we looked at his highlight video only. Did you watch the whole game and you saw in the third quarter he quit playing, but you still signed him? So you got to do your homework. Recruiting's long hours. It's a lot of work, but you're about to give this kid a scholarship to come, and really your job is on the line with this kid. You better know everything about him, school, character, all those type of things. So I think that's the biggest thing is what type of kid are we going to get? And if they're coachable and they're a good kid, then we're going to be all right.